Hear me out. This isn't speculation. This is direct, urgent intel about our planet's future, uncovered over 40 years. Everyone's talking about a shift, but nobody is focusing on the terrifying specifics coming for your home. Skip this, and you'll regret it. The real game changer is saved for the end. Don't miss it. For years, we've thought of the Great Shift as a lovely global spiritual journey, a kind of beautiful cosmic graduation where souls gently move to a new earth. But perhaps in our rush to imagine a perfect future, we've missed some crucial details. We've focused so much on where we're going that we might have completely ignored how wild and turbulent the trip there could be. That all changed with Dolores Cannon's later work. As the predicted time for this great awakening got closer, her hypnotic sessions with hundreds of different people started showing a much clearer, more detailed picture. This wasn't just about the whole planet anymore. It began to focus on specific places, particular land masses, individual nations, and even exact coastlines. The source of her information, what she called the superconscious, began giving warnings that can only be described as profound geopolitical and spiritual alerts. It spoke of a massive rebalancing for our planet, a deep karmic cleansing that would show up not just in our spirits, but physically in the very geology of the Earth. And guess what? Two major regions kept coming up with alarming frequency and vivid detail: the United States of America and Western Europe. This isn't some abstract philosophical idea we're talking about today. This is what you might call spiritual geology and prophetic geography. We're about to open up Dolores Cannon's final, truly chilling vision for the Western world. This isn't here to scare you. It's meant to help you prepare. Because what's coming isn't just a shift in our minds or hearts. It's a literal shift in the ground beneath our feet. The time for general hope has passed. Now it's time for very specific awareness. This eye-opening vision isn't based on just one or two dramatic, isolated sessions. No, this is a powerful collection of converging information, a pattern so strong it becomes undeniable when you look at evidence from multiple independent sources, all separated by decades, yet all pointing to the exact same conclusions. Let's start with Exhibit A, the amazing Edgar Cayce connection. Our investigation absolutely must begin with Edgar Cayce, often called the Sleeping Prophet. His remarkable work in the 1930s and 40s laid the foundation for a lot of modern metaphysical thinking. While in a deep, self-induced trance, Cayce delivered powerful, precise prophecies about huge earth changes. He vividly spoke of cataclysms, massive destructive events that would entirely reshape our world. Let's look at his exact words to truly understand the depth of his foresight. In one reading, 3:976-15, Cayce stated very clearly that the earth will be broken up in the western portion of America. The greater portion of Japan must go into the sea. The upper portion of Europe will be changed as in the twinkling of an eye. He got even more specific about the United States in another reading, 11:52-11. He warned, "Watch New York, Connecticut, and the like. Many portions of the East Coast will be disturbed, as well as many portions of the West Coast, as well as the central portion of the United States. Los Angeles, San Francisco will be among those that are destroyed before New York." This was our starting point, a truly terrifying yet incredibly consistent set of geological predictions that have echoed through time. Now for Exhibit B, the superconscious corroboration. Decades after Cayce, Dolores Cannon, who actually described herself as a skeptic in her younger years, began her groundbreaking work. She made a very conscious choice not to influence her subjects, never even mentioning Cayce or any other prophets to them. Yet astonishingly, the superconscious, the vast source of knowledge speaking through hundreds of different people who had no conscious awareness of Cayce's information, began to confirm his readings with chilling accuracy. In one session, detailed in her book, The Convoluted Universe, Book 2, the source declared, "The maps of your world as you know them will be redrawn. Where there is now land, there will be water. Where there is water, new land will rise." It wasn't about punishment either. The source emphasized, "This is not a punishment, you must understand. It is a cleansing, a return to a state of energetic and physical balance." Finally, Exhibit C, the metaphysical why, revealing the Atlantean grid. As Dolores' work progressed, she wasn't just told what would happen, but more importantly, why. The information gradually shifted from purely geological predictions to explaining the karmic physics behind it all. The superconscious began to meticulously detail the deeper reasons for these upcoming changes, directly linking them to ancient fault lines, not just geological ones, but profound spiritual lines of tension. These tensions were remnants from the catastrophic misuse of advanced energy and crystal technology during the final days of Atlantis. A source in one session explained it this way. Much of the technology that destroyed Atlantis was based on crystals. The misuse created a profound energetic scar, a karmic imbalance in the planet's grid. The main powerful crystals, it said, now lie dormant beneath the sea in the area you call the Bermuda Triangle off the coast of America, the highest concentration of these Atlantean karmic grids. The energetic memories of arrogance and destruction are located directly beneath the power centers of your modern world, the east coast of America and Western Europe. The collected evidence creates a clear, undeniable, and somewhat chilling timeline. Casey, decades ago, provided the initial what, describing the Earth changes. Decades later, Dolores' work not only confirmed that what, but also added the crucial why, the metaphysical, karmic reasons behind it all. So now that we understand the general patterns and the underlying causes, let's move from these broad strokes to the highly specific, detailed visions for each of these critical regions. Let's begin our deep dive with the United States. The superconscious was incredibly detailed and precise about the changes waiting for this nation. It often described America as the absolute epicenter of the karmic cleansing, largely due to its spiritual role as the new Atlantis. This extensive vision can be broken down into three main zones of intense activity across the country. Zone 1 covers the West Coast, a period described as the cleansing of Mu. The warnings concerning California are probably the most well-known, powerfully echoing Casey's earlier work. However, Dolores' sessions went deeper, providing the soul-level reasoning behind these events. The land itself, they explained, carries a deep memory. A quote from a QHHT session revealed, "The land is not stable. It was part of the ancient land of Mu, and before that, other civilizations that have been forgotten. It holds a deep memory of great destruction." It further stated, there is a part of its own consciousness that wants to return to the sea, to be cleansed of the trauma it holds. To make matters worse, the reckless underground drilling and advanced technology being used beneath the surface by your secret governments is also tragically making this ancient instability far worse. The vision wasn't of one single massive, big one earthquake, but rather a series of escalating events, a gradual breaking off and sinking of huge sections of the coastline. The information suggested a timeline where Southern California would be impacted first, followed by a progression northward, up the San Andreas fault line. Crucially, this wasn't depicted as one sudden day of terror, but as a process unfolding over a significant period of time, offering those who are vibrationally aware and connected ample warning and clear guidance to move further inland. Zone 2 focuses on the East Coast, an event referred to as the Atlantean Reckoning. The prophecies for the East Coast are, in many ways, even more dramatic and sudden. These aren't about land slowly sinking from earthquakes, but rather about water rapidly rising from a massive tidal shift. As a session in The Convoluted Universe put it, the coastlines you know will not be the same. New York City, a center of the old financial control system, will be largely underwater. It continued, Florida, a landmass that has risen and fallen many times, will be almost entirely gone. The water is reclaiming what was once its own. This change, it explained, is tied directly to the final karmic cleansing of Atlantis. The primary crystals, which once regulated the weather and energy of that ancient world, now lie off your coast in what you call the Bermuda Triangle. The activation of these powerful crystals, as part of the overall energetic shift, will create a vast energetic and tidal displacement of water that your current coastlines are simply not prepared for. This vision depicted a much more rapid and dramatic change, with densely populated coastal cities being the most vulnerable. It was consistently described as a great washing, a profound purification of the historical centers of old power and entrenched financial control. And then there's Zone 3, the incredibly important safe zone, or central corridor. Amidst all these stark warnings, there was always a powerful message of hope, a clear vision of safety, and even a blueprint for rebuilding. The superconscious explained, the center of the country will be the safe harbor. The spine of the mountains, the Rockies, will hold. It further predicted, the Great Plains, which were once an ancient seabed, will become the new coastlands. This central area, it stated, is the heartland, energetically and physically. It is where the new communities of light, the true new earth, will be built first. The sessions consistently identified the central part of the United States as the most stable ground available. However, they also issued a very important warning about the potential expansion of the Mississippi River and the Great Lakes, urging people even in these safer areas to seek higher ground. The key, it seemed, was not just about finding a particular location, but about finding a sufficiently high elevation. Now, let's shift our focus across the Atlantic and turn our attention to Europe. The visions for this continent are just as specific and, in many ways, just as challenging, deeply tied to the karmic residue of ancient empires and countless past conflicts. Zone 1 reveals the Northern Inundation. Echoing Casey's vision of dramatic changes in the twinkling of an eye, the superconscious spoke of massive transformations coming to Northern Europe. It described that the British Isles will be almost unrecognizable. Much of England, especially the low-lying areas, will go beneath the waves. It continued. The Nordic countries will also experience immense flooding. This is understood as a great washing away of old energies, of old empires built on conquest, of ancient religious conflicts, and of power structures that have controlled humanity for centuries. The water purifies the energetic grid. This vision pointed to rapid and dramatic change, primarily driven by the combined effects of shifting ocean currents in the Atlantic and the accelerated melting of the polar ice caps. Zone 2 brings us to the Mediterranean transformation. The changes predicted for southern Europe were described differently, being more geological and volcanic in nature. A session explained, Italy will see great turmoil from the earth. The volcanoes, Vesuvius and Etna, will awaken with great force. It further detailed that the Mediterranean Sea itself will significantly change its shape as the African and European tectonic plates shift. New islands, it revealed, will appear where there were none before, and some old ones will vanish. This is understood as the awakening of the ancient feminine energy, the earth speaking through fire and deep geological movement to cleanse the deep scars left by the Roman Empire and the historical religious inquisitions. Finally, Zone 3 identifies the Eastern European sanctuaries. Similar to the United States, there were consistently identified areas within Europe that were predicted to be more stable, serving as important sanctuaries. The information stated, the lands of what you know as Russia, particularly the southern regions near the Ural Mountains, will be very safe. It also mentioned the ancient mountains, the Carpathians in Romania, will become a place of refuge. The reason? The energy here is ancient, stable, and less burdened by the specific karmic weight of Western colonialism and the Atlantean conflict. These are the old lands, and they will hold. So, there you have it. We've laid out the urgent warnings, explored the maps of change, and glimpsed these challenging visions of chaos. It's completely natural at this point to feel fear. It's understandable to feel powerless, and it's tempting to fall into despair or immediately start planning your escape purely based on these geographical maps. But if you do that, you would be completely and utterly missing the entire most important point of these prophecies. Dolores Cannon was absolutely firm about one central, unwavering truth, a truth that the superconscious repeated in almost every single session. A truth that is the ultimate cure for all fear. And it is this: the future is not set in stone. It is a probability. A very powerful probability, yes, but crucially, not an absolute certainty. A prophecy is not a prison sentence. It's more like a highly advanced weather forecast. Now think about this. What do you do when a trusted weather forecaster predicts a Category 5 hurricane is heading straight for your area? You don't just sit in your house waiting for doom. You don't fall into denial and pretend the storm isn't coming. No, you take intelligent, empowered action. You board up the windows, gather essential supplies, and strengthen the very foundation of your home. You prepare, and if necessary, you listen carefully to the guidance telling you to evacuate to safer ground. This profound prophetic information isn't meant to scare you into paralysis. Instead, it's specifically designed to empower you into taking conscious, deliberate action. And here's the most critical part. The most powerful preparation, the single most effective action you can take, isn't geographical at all. It is entirely vibrational. This, my friends, is the most important secret of all. The superconscious stated this with absolute clarity in a session that became the very cornerstone of Dolores's later understanding. It said, "The ultimate safe zone is your own frequency." What does that mean? It means this: if you are vibrating at the frequency of unconditional love and absolute trust in the universe, you will be divinely guided to be in the perfect place at the perfect time. You could literally be standing in the center of a collapsing city, and a miraculous bubble of safety will form around you. You will be completely out of phase with the destruction. On the flip side, if you are vibrating in the frequency of abject fear, you could be in the statistically safest place on earth, and a random tree will inexplicably fall directly on your house. The physical maps are real, and the geological probabilities are incredibly strong, but ultimately, they are the external reflection of a much larger, collective internal shift in consciousness. Your primary job, therefore, is not to desperately try to outrun the storm. Your true job is to become the calm in the eye of the storm. So now, we move beyond simply being passive listeners of a forecast. We are transitioning into becoming active preparers for our own future. We will use this profound knowledge not as a source of paralyzing fear, but as a powerful catalyst for our own spiritual strengthening and personal mastery. We now consciously board up the windows of our minds against the howling winds of media-driven fear and misinformation. We gather the essential supplies of deep compassion, true forgiveness, and an unwavering inner peace. We strengthen the foundation of our connection to our higher self, that ultimate, infallible GPS system within each of us. This is the true preparation. This is the real, transformative work. This is exactly how we can transform a potentially terrifying prophecy into a triumphant, collective graduation for humanity. And now, I want us to make a collective declaration, a powerful energetic statement of our conscious intent. In the comments section below, I want you to boldly declare your chosen state of being. This isn't about where you live on a map. This is fundamentally about the state of consciousness in which you choose to live right now. Right, I am the calm in the storm. Let this space become a powerful energetic grid of sovereign souls, each one a lighthouse shining brightly in the darkness, each one an anchor of stability for the entire collective. Let us show the universe that we have heard the warning, and we are not afraid. We are ready. The future is not something that passively happens to us. It is a reality that we are actively and consciously creating together, right here, right now. Thank you for being prepared.